what we're made of. Standing our ground, here it goes down. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Oh, wait and see, we're gonna be legendary. Ain't no time like the here and now. Yeah, we showed up, now we showing up. We don't back down, this is what we're made of. Standing our ground, here it goes down. Oh, you and me, we're gonna be legendary. Oh, wait and see, we're gonna be legendary. Ain't no time like the here and now. Yeah, we showed up, now we showing up.
A resurrection like a ghost. Hurricane, go ahead and blow. Where you could keep your white flag, I'll never fold. A shadow on a battlefield. A survivor, never yield. A thunder, go ahead and shake. Don't run from the storm when I feel the rain. There's no rest for the wicked, no victory for the weak. And when the weeds getting thicker, you'll never see me on my knees. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. I got a fever in my blood, a falling embers from above. I feel the heat when the pressure blows, a wildfire that you can't control. There's no rest for the wicked, no victory for the weak. And when the weeds getting thicker, you'll never see me on my knees. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. You can't control this, it's explosive. With every beat of my heart, I'll be the light in the dark. You can't control this, I'm explosive. You can't control this, it's 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 explosive.
We're a racing family that you can trust on and off the track. So if you're looking for foundation repair, go online or give us a call to schedule your free inspection. If we fix your foundation and you mention Race On Texas, you will get a 1-year free subscription to the All Access Pass.
Our family started RVing a few years ago, and when I think about all those campfires and fishing trips and sporting events, these are memories that are going to last a lifetime. I want to help others do the same thing. Hi, I'm Kevin Smith, General Manager at the all-new Click It RV in Milton Freewater. People in this community are very familiar with this location and the great service they've always received. So the biggest question we get is, where is Keith? The great news is, Keith is still here.
I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of things come and go. Through all the changes that we have seen, one thing that has not changed for us is the quality of our service.
Buying an RV is a big purchase, but it should be a fun and happy experience. So whether it be in sales or service or parts, our mission is simple: be the best. From our team here at Click It RV in Milton Freewater, we invite you to come down and experience the difference.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
LSRTV welcomes you back to the Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach 1 Performance Cup Series. Today here at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway down in Hampton, Georgia, the 1.5 mile super speedway now. Obviously since 2022, after the reconfiguration, this track is treacherous. We've seen a lot of great racing. We saw some great racing just last week on Wednesday, and Charles Wooten, it was a good one. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jason Rockefeller alongside my analyst and producer, Mr. Charles Wooten, back up here in the booth with me. Cup Series practice just getting ready to wrap up, and then we will go into 5-minute qualifying. Charles, we saw one hell of a race on Wednesday evening for the Sim Racing Points Truck Series for these FTSR guys. It was a photo finish, and I mentioned this right before we went on the air, but it's just funny how those guys kind of predicted the finish of Sunday night's Am Better Health 400 finish here for the NASCAR Cup Series. 3 1,000ths of a second separated Daniel Suarez and Ryan Blaney, and 3 1,000ths of a second is what settled the difference between Richie Coy and his teammate Brody Hanna, who took the win on Wednesday evening. Good evening, Charles. I'm glad we're back here, man. It's going to be a fun one tonight.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's going to be a very fun race, and I'm looking to see who's going to win. We've seen some really good racing, so you really don't know who's going to win on any given race day. Obviously, Atlanta, so it's going to be a fast-paced race, lots of good racing. Again, I didn't actually watch the real race here, but if we see anything like that, I think we're really in for a treat.
Now let's take a look real quick at the Hunt the Front TV race analysis tonight. No fast repairs like usual. 100% fuel load. You're looking at the fuel range to be between 55 to 60, maybe 65 laps at most. 5 sets of tires for these guys, and that's going to be key compared to most super speedways. These guys will be using those tire sets, no doubt about it. 3 green-white checkered attempts if needed, and 163 laps, and the stage breaks will end on lap 35 and lap 75. So Charles, drivers starting to hit the track now. Qualifying, very important here at Atlanta. It's hard to pass. We saw it, obviously, how tough it was on Wednesday evening, and I'm sure it's going to be tough to pass here tonight with how narrow this track is, obviously being a super speedway.
Yeah, it's a different super speedway for sure. But, you know, that is what it's considered now, basically, just after this reconfigure. And yeah, passing is a premium, so you're going to want to get out there and qualify, and everybody's really taking that to heart. Is just about everybody is on track.
You see Tony Solari there in the number 11 Menards Ford Mustang Dark Horse for Fury Motorsports, and Tony's had some success on some super speedways, so we're going to see, obviously, how he ends up doing tonight. He was not able to be in the Daytona 250 last week due to some issues with his sim rig. Was able to race on Wednesday evening, and now he's back in the Cup Series making his debut for this season at least. So he's ready to rock and roll, and we obviously got to talk to him within this last week. And Charles, I think things are looking pretty hopeful for this driver here tonight.
Yeah, they're looking good for him, and we'll see if that lap's any better. And it's still in 14th. He'll jump to 11th there as we jump over to Colby Nice, and we'll see how he does. Currently not on the clock just yet. He will be right there, crossing the line. He'll officially start his green flag lap. We'll see what kind of time he does put in. There it goes. Now the time wants to populate. Didn't want to show us the time there for a minute, as it does take just a bit to get going, but we'll see how he does. Right now, Jose Acosta is your current temporary pole sitter for the moment.
Yeah, you see Colby Mice rim riding around this racetrack here, coming to take the white flag for his lap. He'll jump all the way down to the bottom to cut down to the apron to take his one lap to go here in that number 9 machine. And Charles, we see a lot of times here at these super speedways where most guys, typically with the 2 laps that they're given in qualifying here on iRacing, they usually throw away that first lap right at the top so they can get as much speed as possible. And then you'll see them usually cut down to the bottom and try to shortcut this racetrack as much as possible.
Yeah, you want to shortcut it as much as you can. Just, you know, it's no different whether it's road racing or, you know, oval racing. You try to find the fastest line you can. A 31.177 jumps into 6th place here at the moment. As we jump over to the 91 of Justin Diltz, and he's just about to put a time in here. A 31.911. Yeah, not the fastest. He's going to have to pick up a little bit here on this second lap.
Justin Diltz finished 31st last week, 31 laps down, was taken out late in the going in the race, so hopefully he's able to rebound tonight in that number 31 Chevy Camaro. You see him heading through 3 and 4 right now, and Justin, one of those drivers who usually typically runs about mid to back of the pack here, but obviously with the super speedway aspect, danger looking around every corner, usually you'll find everybody up here at the front, and I'm assuming, Charles, we're going to see a fantastic race tonight. We mentioned Wednesday night for the Sim Racing Points Truck Series for these guys. They're obviously their 3rd league that they have, other than the Xfinity Series, that they had a fantastic finish, a fantastic race, lots of great driver etiquette. It was a fantastic one, and I'm assuming we're going to see the same thing here tonight, but obviously these cars are going to handle a lot different.
Yeah, they are going to handle, but I'm with you. I think we're going to see the fantastic finish. And we have, it looks like, Beck, Kroll, Lang, and Blackner. They are opting not to qualify here. So it's a little bit different strategy for those guys. They are maybe just starting to back and see how this one plays out. So not very many didn't qualify, but there are a handful.
Well, the field is getting ready to grid. Jose Acosta will win the pole here for race number 2 in Atlanta. Let's give you the starting lineup for tonight's 163-lap race from Hotlanta. Here we go. Row number 1, top 10. Jose Acosta on the inside. On the outside, Nathan Bigart was right there up at the end of the race last week. He's looking to make redemption here tonight. Row number 2, James Torrey, always strong on super speedways. The same can be said for TJ Bartel to the outside in the 98. Row number 3, Dave Nestor, great qualifying effort for the newcomer in the 36. And Colby Mice on the outside there in the number 9 machine, hoping to rebound with a good finish. Row number 4, Wayne Grossi was there all night long at Daytona, was not able to get the job done. And Ryan Chapman, last year's winner here at Atlanta in the Cup Series, he'll start to the outside in row number 4. And top 10, row number 5, Wednesday night's winner by 3/1,000ths of a second over his teammate Richie Coy for Fury Motorsports, Brody Hanna, and Ben Tracy to the outside in the 35. That's your top 10.
At row 6, gonna find Sherwood Williford in that 33 machine, and Robert Tracy in the 75 on his outside. Row 7, gonna have Lane Allen in the 14, and on the outside, Joshua Johnson in the 57. Row 8, going to be Brian Double. We'll be looking to see how he does here tonight in the 37 outside. Colton Gum in the 10, and I just like that name, and I like a piece of gum here and there once in a while. In the number 3 on row 9 is going to be Brian Bliss in the 3, and the 06 of Daniel Simmons. I don't know if he was here last week. Oh, we will let you confirm here in just a minute. Row number 10 is going to be Joseph. I'm going to space on that name. I know you'll give me the correct pronunciation, Jason, here in a minute in the 12, and the 2 of Alan Duranco in row 10.
Rest of your field all the way down to 32nd, row number 11, Justin Diltz in the 91. Richie Coy trying to finish one spot better than what he did on Wednesday night. Row number 12, there he is, making his Cup Series first start this season, Tony Solari. Ryan Hedrick there to the outside. Row number 13, you have Kyle Milliken, one of the drivers who's so strong on super speedways, alongside Anthony Koza at the outside. Row number 14, right there. You have Jeff Chandler right in the hunt last week at Daytona, got taken out. And the winner from Daytona 1 week ago, Jamie Knopp in the 48 machine. Row number 15, you find Michael Blackner and Chris Beck in the 44. And rounding out the field in row number 16 there, all by themselves, you have Chad Lang and Alan Crowell in the 54. Charles, this is going to be a great race. 32 cars are about to take the green flag, man. It is about to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Always look forward to a Monday night racing. You definitely, it's always fun. It's even more fun when they produce clean racing on top of that.
And we're about to find out here. 163 laps, 250 miles. The FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup Series takes the green flag. Jose Acosta leads him down. We're racing here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and he's going to lead them all the way down to turn 1. Nathan Bigard on the outside lane. He's not going to duck down just yet. Acosta will stick to the inside lane while the outside tries to get formed up. The field spread out, but Charles, they are all going to get packed up pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're going to get packed up. We'll see if they stay that way for long as the racing is underway. And again, I don't expect this to be a long race just because of the clean racing we've seen so far. I think it'll be a very quick race, even though it is 163 laps. We will, of course, like you mentioned, lap 35 and 75, we will have those caution or competition cautions, stage cautions, whatever you want to call them. That'll slow it down a little bit, but I think we're going to go green. Kind of like the color of these walls. It's going to stay green, and with really good racing, as they're still too wide. You got the 28 on the outside, and that outside lane just not quite keeping up right now. Sorry, 24.
Yeah, we saw a lot earlier in the race on Sunday evening, obviously, that these guys were, the Cup Series guys over on the NASCAR side of things, they were really running the bottom pretty much, but then the outside lane really came into play towards the outside lane, or on the outside rather, and actually that is the lane that won the race. Daniel Suarez, along with Kyle Busch in the middle, Ryan Blaney on the bottom, they went 3 wide and created the 3rd closest finish in NASCAR history on Sunday night. Expecting to see probably some of the same type of racing. Maybe not as chaotic though, but we're going to find out here. As you see to the outside, James Torrey able to take the race lead away from Nathan Bigard. Want to touch up on something too. Michael Blackner, something of a miss on that machine at the start of the race. You saw smoke coming off of turn number 2 after they completed lap number 1. So Michael all the way in the back right now, Charles. Not the way you want to start this race, being well off the pace.
Now that is definitely not where you want to be. So he'll have to try to hope for that stage caution, and nothing in between there, and hopefully nothing major happened as we head back to the front. And to be honest, you don't want to focus in on one particular driver because, well, there you go. That's why. It's just a pack of cars right now. Again, it's a, super speedway style race. It's anybody's game right now. All the cars should be nice and clean, not too much damage. And, they are probably, based on what I've seen, Jason, and you can do you agree or disagree with this one. I think they're going to kind of just ride until maybe like lap 32, 33, and then we might see a little action happening.
I would say you're probably about right. I mean, that's the way that Brody Hanna and Richie Coy described to me how they feel like it was going to be, and then you were going to start to see guys get really, really racy. I know that that's pretty much how it was early in the going on Sunday, except the caution coming out on lap number 2 due to a massive pileup going into turn number 1. Took out some great cars, set some guys back big time. And it's funny because Daniel Suarez was involved in that wreck on Sunday at lap number 2, but was able to come back, rebound, and pick up his second career NASCAR Cup Series victory for Trackhouse Racing. But you see everybody just being double wide. And Charles, I'd say you probably hit the nail right on the head. You're not going to really see any of these guys start to get very aggressive. And you can't really be that aggressive here because like we saw on Wednesday night, it's so hard to pass. Look at how much more narrow this track is compared to your traditional super speedway like Daytona and Talladega. It's just so hard. You really got to be gutsy if you're going to try to make it 3 wide.
Yeah, you got to be real gutsy, and so far nobody is doing that. And we didn't expect them to. It's kind of a long Sunday per se. It's a Sunday drive on Monday night. So there we go. That's pretty much what they're doing. And speak of Brody Hanna. He won, of course. He is sitting currently in 10th place with a solid run. He's just got to kind of work his way to the front. As we're already, by the way, working lap number 9. So that stage caution will be here before you know it. Again, now, I said earlier, Jason, that outside lane not working. You said, mentioned the other the real race, and it's starting to come together as we have a little bit of a battle for the lead going on.
Yeah, side drafting is going to be a big part if you're going to want to be able to carry your lines forward, especially if you're the top side being led by James Torrey still, Jose Acosta right there. Then you have the 98, that's TJ Bartel. He is a super speedway winner. In fact, there's a lot of super speedway winners here, just to touch on some. You have Ryan Chapman, last year's winner here at Atlanta, currently sitting P2 on the inside behind Nathan Bigard. We saw how good Nathan was in the Daytona 250 just 1 week ago. Wayne Grossi, always strong. Brody Hanna, your winner on Wednesday night. Just a lot of guys who are really strong. I mean, Lane Allen, he's won at Talladega. The Ford machine of Chad Lang. Chad Lang might be second to last right now, but do not count him out. He is way back there. He won at Talladega last season. We've seen how good Chad Lang can be at these tracks, and I think he definitely could have what it takes to win today. But really, Charles, like we've seen, I mean, from my previous year calling this series and now obviously bringing it over to LSRTV coverage with you, these guys are some of the most competitive, clean drivers and leagues I've seen throughout my entire iRacing broadcasting career.
Yeah, I definitely will agree with that one. But, as far as leagues, no offense, Jeff, to my boss and your boss, but, I agree. This is probably one of the cleanest leagues, that I've ever had the privilege to produce, much less announce as well. So, we've talked about it every week. Hats off to them and just how good they do. As, again, we're still watching this battle. That's almost 4 wide, Jason.
Yeah, 3 wide. They're going to put James Torrey through the sucker hole somewhere you do not want to be because you can create chaos. You just feel the air being put on your doors from both sides, the inside, the outside. You can see them all trying to get around. One car almost up and into the wall. That was Colton Gum, I believe it was, coming through the tri-oval. And Colton, a really strong driver at these super speedways. We saw him up at the front at Daytona. They're able to get past James Torrey, and just like that, Torrey goes from all the way to the front, pretty much that 11th spot on the inside lane in that Castrol Edge machine.
Yeah, just so much battle. And I want to mention here, you're about to see a battle going on. It's going to be the battle of the oils. You got Castor Oil and you got Pennzoil right there together. So, my question is, are those two going to work together? Are we going to see competitor oils work together here tonight, Jason? Or are they going to be like, no, I can't work with you?
I think sponsors aside, I think you got to pick them where you find them pretty much, because that's kind of how you have to roll here at Atlanta nowadays. You just find your drafting partner and you kind of have to stick with them, because it's so hard to find your teammates and drafting partners. We saw, obviously, last week, most of the Fury guys couldn't really get hooked up. We saw a lot of the other teams not able to get hooked up as well. You think of Blackwater, Boomerang Motorsports, those drivers. Nobody was really hooked up together at all times. You kind of just, you found your drafting partner and you tried to work with them. So, I mean, if I'm that 7 machine and that 6 machine, oil brands aside, I'm pretty sure they're just trying to work together tonight.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You can't be picky when you come to a plate track or, a super speedway style event where, like you said, you've got to work with whoever will work with you. That's basically bottom line. You work with who you need to, and then in the end, well, you don't work with them. That's literally the point of a race like this. Again, you have frenemies, is what I like to refer to them as. They're your friend when you need them. They're your enemy when you don't. And, while they may be best buddies on or off the track, doesn't matter. You've got to work with them, and you've got to let them loose when you've got to let them loose.
And that's definitely, obviously, the case here. We're already 18 laps into this race, coming to complete that. They'll be on lap number 19, remember. Lap 35 of the completion of that. That will be the stage 1 ending caution that we will see. So 10 points, or not 10 points rather, but 10 positions. The top 10 drivers will be awarded points. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and so on. For the top 10 drivers, those points will be awarded. And then lap 75, at the completion of that, that will be the end of stage number 2. We will go all the way to the flag at the completion of lap 163. There's Michael Blackner, the driver we just talked about, had a mishap on lap number 1 out of turn number 2. He's going to be the first car going 1 lap down there in the Red Bull Ford Mustang Dark Horse to the outside, and they're going to get by him real quickly. And Charles, look at this. Last year's winner here at Atlanta, Ryan Chapman in the number 27 Martin Sports Toyota Camry XSE, doing a great job leading this field with Nathan Bigart, one of the newcomers to the series. And so far, he has also put on some really good performances. Put on one last week at Daytona. Heartbreaker, he wasn't able to get it done, but he's got a good enough car here tonight to do it.
He's definitely, I'm with you. I think he's got a good enough car to do it. And, that is a shame for Blackner. He's, struggling. And that was what you didn't want. You didn't want to go a lap down prior to the stage caution coming out. Obviously, maybe you could go a lap down. You could still get that lap back as long as we don't see a wreck and put other cars lap down. But ideally, you would like to have stayed on the lead lap so, you could, do everything you need to do. Pit stops, all that. Obviously, pit stops going to be a huge thing here if you're not on the lead lap. So it's not ideal, but it's not something he can't bounce back from.
Definitely, no doubt about it. We've seen, obviously, time and time again, cautions can happen. And just like one caution, Michael Blackner will be back up in the front of this race in no time if he can just catch the caution at the right time. And speaking of somebody who's fallen back as well, James Toyer, remember how we talked about he was leading this field, fell back to outside the top 10 in about 11th or 12th. Well, he's fallen all the way back to the 27th spot towards the tail end of this pack. In fact, I think he's actually in a completely separate pack right now towards the tail end there. So he's got a lot of work to make up for. You see him right there following along with Chris Beck. Or actually, that's Alan Crowell and then Chad Lang right behind him in that number 4 Pepsi machine. A car I believe was ran last year by Lang. Great looking race car. Obviously now it is on the beautiful new Ford Mustang Dark Horse. And remember, Charles, too, that's one thing that we really didn't talk about as much last week, but it's been so important here, is these manufacturers, the OEMs, Chevrolet didn't do anything to their body over the offseason in NASCAR for the Cup Series, but Toyota and Ford decided we're going to do a transition. Well, Ford decided to bring out the Dark Horse, which is one of the newer type Mustangs coming, I believe, this year or at the end of the year. So they kind of have a little bit more square front to them. And then the Toyotas, we've seen time and time again how difficult they have been to give a push from, or to give a push from. And now they have made their noses a little bit flatter. We saw in the Daytona 500 just 1 week ago how strong they were in the duels, how strong they were in the race, because of how flat those front bumpers are now. And look at this, we got a Ford pushing a Toyota up here at the front, so I guess it's paying off.
Yeah, it is definitely paying off, and obviously there's a strategy going on with those three we're just talking about. The 54 of Kroll, the 44 of Beck, and the 4 of Lang. Those were also the guys that did not qualify. So, a strategy going on there for them. It'll be interesting to see, if it pays off for them in the long run. I didn't expect us to see almost single file for the top 8 right now, but we are. You got to go back to 10th place before you see any side-by-side again. So, we're getting close. Could people be setting up to make a charge and get a run, maybe pulling back to regroup and make a run here as we're coming up on lap 35 very soon?
Definitely a possibility with now the inside lane being a little bit more clear out front compared to the outside. That being led by the 36th newcomer to the league, Dave Nestor, making his second start, obviously, this week. You look back just 1 week ago, Dave Nestor finished all the way. Looking at the results right now, Dave Nestor was able to come home. I'm not seeing him on the leaderboard, so I'm not too sure if Dave Nestor made a start last week. It probably was Wednesday night, but he's doing a great job leading that top lane. They just got to get going. There's Josh Johnson. He goes to the outside lane in that 57 machine. So, Charles, are starting to see some drivers move up to the top side, but you put up a great point. Those guys in the back, the ones who did not qualify, that being Alan Crowell, Chad Lang, Chris Beck, and stuff like that. I believe we got a wreck possibly going on. Not too sure. Oh, yes, we do. Major crash back straightaway. Jeff Chandler, the 75 of Rob Tracy, saw a lot of jostling and shuffling going around on the live sim timing leaderboard. And boy, that was a big one going down into turn 3, Charles.
Yeah, that was a big one, and I'm not sure why I said ATVO there, but we'll get that sorted out as we're about to see what happened here. That is a 75 of Robert Tracy, and he was going backwards there. We saw that. Someone got into the wall, and I think this was just a chain reaction.
Yeah, you saw right there. We're going to take maybe one more look at it. Lots of drivers being involved. Richie Coy involved in this one. You don't really see Richie get involved in many wrecks here in FTSR, which if you're a newcomer to the series, that driver usually is always up at the front, was trapped in the back of this field. We're going to take one more look at it. And it all started when I believe Jose Acosta got up into the outside wall coming off turn number 2. They all checked up, and then all heck broke loose coming off turn number 2. So here it is. You see the 36 wide. He's up into the corner. Creates a stack up. They all try checking up. Acosta up into the wall. There goes the 98, the 75. Jeff Chandler goes around there in the Nerditudes machine in the Martin Sports colors, able to save it. Richie Coy probably done with that one, I would say, after tonight with that hard impact. The front end completely ripped off the car. And Charles, this is going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to go back racing here for the end of this stage. They had a similar incident in the first stage of the Cup Series just on Sunday where we saw a caution. They had debris on the back straightaway, had to pick it up, and they ended up going and doing a one-lap dash to the finish. So it's a possibility we might just see that here.
Yeah, we very well could. My question for these, if we are, do you pit or do not pit? Because technically we are not in that 2-lap window where pit lane would be closed. So do you come down and take tires and fuel, or do you stay out? And maybe hope everyone comes behind you if you do pit. We may see some strategy calls here.
Yeah, well, either you sacrifice the points to take the track position at the end of the stage, or you obviously come down and take that grip, because we've gone 30 laps on a green flag run, and tires really get eaten up quickly here at Atlanta. About 20-25 laps in is when you start to see a lot of wear and tear to those cars and tires, and everybody gets really loose. But the pace car lights are out, so it doesn't look like anybody elects to pit this time by. Alan Crowell still in the pits. I believe he was one of those drivers possibly involved in that one. But Charles, we're going to restart here with just pretty much 3 laps to go in this stage. Ryan Chapman has led a majority of it. He's going to have the Chevrolet of Wayne Rossi pushing him, and then Brody Hanna is going to be lined up with another 4. This outside lane might be able to go here with these 2 manufacturers for Ford, with Nathan Bigart and Brody Hanna being up at the top, because they can get connected easier than that Chevy and that Toyota.
Yeah, they could. And, one thing, we rarely talk about this, Jason, but I'm going to bring it up, because one thing the admins of this race have at their disposal, and I'm not sure if they deployed it this time or not, is the short caution. They can actually shorten the caution, in the event like right now where we're up close to a stage, nobody came down pit road. They can shorten that caution so that we can run it out to the stage caution instead of making that the stage caution.
Definitely a good point to put on. That's the great thing about iRacing, is that if you are an elected admin in your server, like a Brody Hanna or maybe a few other of these drivers, they can shorten the cautions if necessary, so these guys can guarantee themselves to go back racing. Just like that. That's what we're going to do here. Coming to the restart zone, Chapman, Bigart, front row. Green flag is back out in the air. 3 laps to go. Little bit of tire spin out of some of these drivers there throughout this pack. And back down to turn number 1. Hanna and the 01 of Bigart don't get hooked up together. Now they do. They're going to be side by side for the race lead here coming off turn number 2. Put Bigart to the front of the field with Chapman on the bottom.
Yeah, good race ensuing here. And we try to keep tabs on the chat just a little bit. And we do have a fan out there checking in for Jeff Chandler in the, I believe that's the 31 that he was in. Yes, 31, and I want to know how much damage he got. Well, to report on pit road there, he was on pit road for 1:07. I was in his stall for 42 seconds, so I'm going to guess he either got a little bit of it fixed or he did not have a whole lot, because 42 seconds, not a huge amount of time on pit road. So hopefully for Jeff that it was just minimal damage and not too much he didn't have to repair.
Doyle Lawrence, obviously one of the painters for that 31 machine, always watching the FTSR broadcasts week in and week out. And we'll see if Jeff Chandler can make his way back up to the front. But just like this, 1 lap to go in the stage. Brody Hanna, Charles, might have too comfortable of a lead. They're coming off turn number 2 here for the final time. 3 wide behind the race leaders. The 23 of Brody Hanna tried to figure out which lane he wanted to block. Nathan Bigart went to the outside. How about Josh Johnson trying to jump down to the bottom? He'll cut right across the nose of Hanna. He's going to get turned in front of the field. Checkered flag for the green and white. Checkered flag is out. Big crash. Josh Johnson up and into the air. Major crash coming through to the start-finish line. And just like that, that's going to be the end of stage number 1. Nathan Bigart will take the stage win. I believe Brody Hanna got through it despite turning the number 57 through a late block to the bottom to try to make sure he got the momentum carried and had help from the 23, but it just didn't work out there, Charles.
Yeah, that's one of them things, I would probably say that the fault of that incident fully goes on the 27. On the flip side of that, I'd have done the same thing. He had to do what he had to do. He was trying to make the pass, and he just wasn't quite clear. But, hey, you're going to the green and white checkered flag. You've got to do something to get as many points as you can. He did it. Didn't quite work out. I'm not going to say, that was a dirty move. He was just trying to do what he had to do.
Yeah, maybe we could try to get a replay on that here in just a few moments. But obviously, there is your Stage 1 winner, Nathan Bigart. So strong last week at Daytona, trying to redeem himself tonight after being right in the hunt for the end at Daytona. Came home 12th, and here is your race replay. Here we go. 1 lap to go, and Charles, start to break it down for us right here.
Yeah, he knows right now he's in about 4th, 5th place. He wants as many points. Again, points are key when you get to the season C of this. And you're about to see right here, he knows he needs to do something. He's going to try to make a pass. He can't quite get it. He thinks he's clear. But right here is when it all fell apart. That inside lane, they gained momentum, basically. He didn't anticipate that momentum boost. And, then he just gets annihilated.
Yeah, lots of drivers involved. You saw Anthony Cozy involved. James Torrey was the one who had the hard impact to the 57, nearly sent him flying into the catch fence. They were able to be sat back down on the ground. There's Ben Tracy. He's going to come into the pits this time by. Few drivers elected to stay out under that caution, or under this caution so far. Michael Blackner has not made a pit stop yet. Neither has Justin Diltz. We just mentioned Ben Tracy is in. Richie Coy last pitted at lap 30. The same could be said for Anthony Cozy, Brian Dublé, Brian Bliss, some of those drivers who I believe were involved in that last caution. So now if you're this 01 machine here, Charles, of Nathan Bigard, he's going to be starting on the inside lane, 5th in line, in the 9th spot. How do you try to make your way back up to this front after what you just saw?
You still, you've got to mind your P's and Q's. You don't want to go, doing anything crazy. You've just got to, pick your battles. I'm not going to be too concerned right now. Again, you got 126 laps to go. We still got a stage caution. You've got a lot of opportunity to strategize. Talk to your virtual pit crew. He may not talk back to you much and just tells you things and you have to listen, but if you have a crew chief, a real one, you can talk to them or talk to your teammates. Do what you got to do. Just don't do anything crazy yet. Again, 126 laps to go is a lot of racing, so you're not in dire straits if you're not in the the top 2-3 right now, because again, a lot of racing to go.
A lot of racing to go for sure, obviously. And Ryan Hedrick is going to lead him back down to the green flag here. Here comes Justin Diltz on the outside as well to take the green flag. We're about to roll into the Geico restart zone here for stage number 2. Green flag is back out. Ryan Hedrick leads him down. He's got Brian Bliss behind him, and Justin Diltz has Brian Dublé hot on his heels. They head back to 1.
Yeah, and they kind of got a little scattered there on that restart. As you mentioned, Ryan got a huge jump, but you have Bliss behind him, and we get to talk about him. We try not to single him out just because he is running our colors and logo, but we will now. He's in 2nd place with Brian Bliss in that 3 machine, and he is going to go way up to the top side.
Way up to the top side indeed. Opens up the door for Brian Dublé, who's able to take the 2nd spot away. Here comes Colton Gum, Michael Blackner, Kyle Milliken, one of the drivers who was super aggressive last year here at Atlanta and nearly could have won the race. Did not end up the way he wanted it to, but he is trying his best to make it up. Remember, he won at Daytona right before the start of Season C in 2023. So Kyle Milliken knows how to get around these super speedways, doing a great job right now. As you see this field pretty much right now, Charles, got really scattered because you had a mix of damaged cars mixed with drivers who just came down on pit road and didn't have any damage or just minimal.
Yeah, they did, and our poor LSRTV car going to the back. However, I do hope the track photographer, whoever's taking pictures here, got a shot of that. My two of my favorite things side by side, LSRTV and Red Bull. I really hope they got a picture of that. And it makes it somewhere to a website, but we'll see. But anyway, back to the racing as Hedrick out front, followed by Double. He's right there. Double, he's right behind him. Gum is there. Well, again, I don't know who's going to win this. We didn't get to our normal who's going to win the race pick. But Jason, I think you would agree with it being super speedway. You've got about a 1 in, let's see, how many are on the lead lap right now? So far, I would say 1 in 27 chances of winning this, because just because you're a lap down does not mean you're out of this race.
Yeah, Tony Solara, the first car 1 lap down, just saw him get up into the outside wall coming off turn number 2 a lap ago. was able to save it, but he is way back there off the pace. 1 lap down, like we mentioned, and he's battling with Richie Coy and Alan Duranko for that free pass position. And right now, or not Richie Coy and Alan Duranko, rather, Tony Solari has the free spot, or free pass.
Look at the difference between stage 1 and stage 2 so far. We saw a lot of battling. Stage 2, so far, it is all single file for about the top 15 or 20 cars. And I believe that is that silver
33.
car up there. Yeah, he is dragging big time on the splitter. I assume it's the splitter. I was hoping it ain't the bumper. But, yeah, look at he is shooting sparks for that setup. That is the 33.
And obviously, these guys are allowed to have these open setups, I believe. So, therefore, they can, tweak the cars, lower the air pressure, have different springs in the car that make these cars lower to the ground for more drag, better downforce. And that's what you're seeing out of the 33 machine. Probably either the splitter or the rear diffuser. Doesn't get talked enough about how much it drags, but you definitely don't want that rear diffuser getting damaged very much, because that can really create a lot of problems, and especially later on when you have that tire wear start to play a factor and can cause you to get tight, can cause you to get loose. We've seen how loose these cars can get here this week, or rather last week at Atlanta during the official sessions in the week for iRacing in the A car. Whether it be fixed or open. So these guys can get loose very, very quickly. As you see Brody Hanna starting to make headway back up towards the front. Kyle Milliken able to jump up top. They're trying to go around the 37 and 47. They might just do that here down the back straightaway.
Yeah, I don't want to harp on him too much, but you notice those sparks have went away. It makes me wonder, because you mentioned the open setup. Could he have set his tire pressures a little lower, and now that they're getting heat built into them, they're starting to stabilize a little bit more. That car's not quite as low. Once it's kind of built the heat into the tires, because right now you do not see that anymore. So, he may have put his tire pressures a little low on purpose, and now they're starting to come around.
And obviously, for folks wondering about that, Charles, you mentioned a great point right there. Most of the time, you see a lot of drivers when they come down, especially at 1.5 miles, even short tracks. Short tracks, you see it the most. Most guys will lower the air pressures on those left sides in order to get built up for the longer runs, so they can have a little bit more rubber to them and have better grip in the long run. So that's what we're seeing out of that 33 machine probably, and I would expect some of this field to do the same. We're just not seeing it right now, but those sparks have gone away on that 33 machine. Looks like those tire pressures very well could have already been built up. You see a lot of slicing and dicing going on throughout the front of this field. Ryan Hedrick doing one heck of a job out front. Don't really get to talk about him much, always supporting those DraftKings colors. Last year it was an all-black car. This year it's an all-white car. He's got Brian Dublé right back behind him in the 37. You see Colton Gum in the Gum's Auto Repair car on the inside lane. Kyle Milliken up at the top. And now here's an opportunity for the 47. Where does he go? Does he stay to the bottom? Does he stay to the top? He's going to elect to stay to the bottom with the 37, while Kyle Milliken tries to go to the race lead, this time entering 2.
Yeah, Jimmy, we got a lap car, of course. That got really a little bit hairy there for a minute. He's going to take to the high side, kind of scrapes the wall. I believe is that the 57 of Johnson? No, it's not. I'm not sure who that is. 75. Well, I got my numbers backwards. I knew there was a 5 and a 7 involved in it somewhere. I just got him a little rotated. That is Robert Tracy. But he's going to get out of the way. No big deal. He'll tag to the back of this group. And, that's a good thing. You can tag the back if you're not too damaged, and help one of these lines out a little bit. Looks like our front two have really pulled away.
Just saw Richie Coy up into the wall for a moment. Now he's all of a sudden gone on our monitor all of a sudden, but he is way in the back now, 23rd, 1 lap down. Alan Duranko trying to get past him. He's now 2 laps down. You see Tony Solari also going 2 laps down there up on the outside lane, fading out of the monitor. There's the 4. Chad Lang trying to lead this outside lane with Nathan Bigard, who's done a great job trying to get his way back up to the front. The field got scattered at the start of stage number 2. He was back in 9th. Now he finds himself in 4th inside the top 5 trying to go back to the race lead.
Yeah, not yet. I'm not sure what happened to Richie Coy, but like you said, he is no longer in this race. But we'll be talking about it with him, whether he is able to get back in or not. But unfortunate for that Victory Fuel number 19 machine. But they're looking out front, and again, those front two, kind of throwing it back to the tandem days where they've kind of pulled out. Then you got 2 or 3 up top and then 2 down, spaced out below. They're not very tightly bunched right now, so I'm really surprised by this.
Yeah, and you see Kyle Milliken driving that 42 machine. Last year, he was in a Ford Mustang, driving the Martini and Rossi champagne colors. This year, he's got, I'm not even sure, Charles, what sponsor that is. I believe that might be another alcohol brand. And it's funny because I work in the alcohol industry as my actual job, and I believe it is Oberon. So I actually do know that brand. That is a Bell's Brewing Company beer. I believe it is an ale. And you see him right there in that blue and yellow machine leading the front of this field. And you see him get a little bit loose, though, coming out of turn number 2. Doesn't check up the field, does a great job hanging on to it. And Charles, we've seen at these super speedways, you don't want to get onto that apron or touch that double line, but really here more than ever, because of how tight and how banked this track is, being a mile and a half, you really touch that apron or touch that line going through those corners, that will send your car right up the track or you'll get loose.
Yeah, and that is not something you want to do, And, I'll bring up Doyle in chat real quick. He's out there cheering on his team, and he was talking about his driver, man. You've got to limit your mistakes. You do. You've got to limit mistakes anytime you get behind the wheel of real racing, sim racing, tricycle racing, juice box racing, whatever it is. And I'll explain that if you want.
Juice box.
Whatever type of racing it is, you've got to limit your mistakes, especially in a tough league like this with talent that's in the full throttle sim racing. And yes, to hit on juice boxes, we just got done with a go-kart series in real life for Race On, and they're the little bitty kids, they're like 2 and 3 or 4 year olds that aren't quite good enough, I say good enough, quite not old enough to get into a real go-kart yet. It's basically Power Wheels, but they don't want to call them that, so they call them juice boxes because they're basically, little kids, they drink juice boxes and they're powered by battery juice.
Wow, that is a first time. I remember growing up, usually I would always watch Charles, you ever see those videos on YouTube where the rednecks out in the woods, they'll take these Power Wheels down to the woods and then they have a race where they just race them down the hill and there's no batteries in them and they gear up and wear suits and helmets and oh my goodness, that stuff was so fun to watch. But obviously juice box racing, something that I will definitely keep in my racing dictionary from now on. Never heard of that, and that's the first time. But I guess it's a good first time for anything. You see up at the front of Kyle Milliken, still able to lead this race. The outside lane's kind of faded away here, Charles, and we're approaching the end of the stage. It's going to come quicker than probably most of these guys think. Remember, lap 75 of the completion will be the stage caution, and we're already seeing this inside lane starting to pull away from this outside.
Yeah, they are pulling away, and we're going to have some breakout. I'm not sure. I believe that's the 47? No, not the 47. It's a little hard to read that number. It's a dark number on a dark blue. But you're right. It is the 27 of Ryan Chapman. He's going to jump to the outside, and he'll pull a few with him. So, again, possibly setting up for the stage. Although it's a few laps away, it may take you a little while to get there because you mentioned earlier, passing is a premium. And you can see right now it's already hard to do. And if you don't have the cars behind you to push you to get there, it's going to make it even harder.
I think also a clean race car might be premium by the end of this one. We've already seen a lot of tore up race cars. Again, 21 cars out of our 32 car field on the lead lap. Only one driver currently looks to be out of this race, and that's Josh Johnson. Finally had enough of riding around the racetrack. He was able to pull into the pits, and everybody on the blue in our screen from our side of things still on the racetrack racing. Tony Solari, the first car, going one lap down. Now he's 2 laps down, and they're approaching Joseph Rahalva in the number 12 machine, he goes a lap down and he's blinking. Maybe a connect shoe going on there. So now if the caution were to come out, he will get the free pass. But Charles, we've seen a lot of destroyed race cars here tonight. A lot of front ends missing. I'm sure that was not the last of it.
Definitely it won't. And speaking of not seeing the last of somebody, he's about to go another lap down. 6 laps down after some damage there, but a little bit of a connection issue for himself. He's going to get down to the bottom. A very noble move by the 19 of Richie Coy, but he's going to need some Victory Fuel energy drink if he's going to get through this race, because that is heartbreaking to go 6 laps down due to a connection issue.
Yeah, and obviously Victory Fuel coming on board into the sim racing world, started up by dirt racing driver and legend Kevin Swindell and a few of his other partners out there. And Victory Fuel, one of the proud partners of the FTSR League. And we're going to plug it. I guess we could plug it because Richie Coy's got his own dang code, for goodness sakes. Obviously, you go to the website for Victory Fuel, use the checkout code KOI19, will save you 10% off at checkout. You can go to drinkvictory.com to try out the Victory Fuel electrolyte water. I got myself a pack, Charles, coming this way thanks to Nerd TV's Dustin Longson, so I finally get to try some of that product myself. I'm sure it's going to be a different flavor, obviously, than plain water, because they got 2 different flavors, and I'm not a guy to drink flavored water, and I'm looking forward to trying it, and it's the fruit punch flavor, so thank goodness that Dustin got me a good flavor, because that was the only one I would drink out of the 2. But looking back up at the front here, Kyle Milliken still holding this race lead, while Brody Hanna trying to be super aggressive here in the final few laps of stage number 2. He's on the bottom, now he went to the outside, he's got help from another Ford manufactured teammate behind him. That's Nathan Bigart, still showing his strength in the 01, and here comes the very own LSRTV machine, Charles, your favorite, Ryan Bliss, working his way up into that number 3 spot in the number 3 car, trying to see what he can do here for the end of this stage.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go work at least one race over at Nerditude just so I can get this guy to give me some Victory Fuel drink. But, yeah, I'm going to have to try it. I'll probably use that KOI19 code just so I can save 10% off my order. We like to support anything, invented or whatever, formulated by any type of racer, especially a dirt racer. So definitely will be doing that. By the way, we're lap 70 right now. We are about 5 laps away from that stage caution. I have a feeling things are about to get a little bit hairy on the racetrack.
It's not a broadcast if Charles doesn't mention food, dirt racing, or race on. So be mindful
RC
of
cars.
that.
Don't forget RC cars.
Oh yeah, and we got a wreck in the back. Ryan Chapman, I believe, possibly going around, or actually was just up into the wall there for quite a moment. That was one of the drivers leading just a handful of laps ago, and now he is really off the pace there, Charles. Maybe we can try to get a replay on that, because I saw some shuffling going on through the leaderboard, and Ryan Chapman went from the middle of this pack all the way to 15th, and he is severely off the pace.
Let's see, and you're not sure if he got pushed up there or if he just got up there on his own. And we're about to find out, and he had a shot in the shorts, and that pushed him right up to the wall, and then he scrapes it. So, just a shot in the shorts got him into the wall.
Heartbreaker for Ryan Chapman. Shouldn't be race-ending damage for sure. We'll be able to repair that come the end of stage number 2, which we are approaching very, very quickly. And just 30.6 is the time it takes to get around here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. This time by going to be 3 laps to go in this stage. Brody Hanna, your winner from Wednesday night Sim Racing Points Truck Series over his teammate Richie Coy. One of those guys, multiple laps down. The other one, your race winner from Wednesday, up here at the front of this field, trying to see if he could sweep the weekend and get the broom out. Kyle Busch tried to do it on Saturday and Sunday, got the Truck Series win, and came up short by just 7 1/1000ths of a second to Daniel Suarez in that amazing 3-wide finish that we're probably going to talk about for a very long time, to say the least. Definitely will go down as one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history. Shades of Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Clint Boyer back at Talladega in 2011, creating the second closest finish in NASCAR history. And this time by, Charles, one lap to go. Do you think anybody here has anything for Brody Hanna?
You know, I think anybody in this field's got something for him. Not saying he's bad. I'm just saying they're that good. So, you know, I really think Big Art, Gum, Williford, you know, Lang. By the way, Lang in fourth place after not even qualifying. Milliken, any of these guys, Bliss, I think any of those guys up there have a shot. It's just got to work out for them as, well, they're going to have to make a move really well now if they want to get up there and get the stage win.
Green and white checkered flag is out. Brody Hanna picks up stage win this time by. And that will bring us to the caution flag now. Obviously, Brody Hanna picking up a stage win, trying to leave right where he left off just a handful of days ago on Wednesday, picking up that win over Richie Coy, his teammate, by 3/1000ths of a second. And probably, Charles, one of the craziest finishes we've had on LSRTV.
Yeah, it definitely was. And, you know, just a weird thing noticing there. It didn't look like anybody even really tried to do anything with Brody Hanna. It looks like they kind of just let him have it. I think people were content, you know, after having that big pileup on the end of stage one. They didn't want to push it for stage two, and they really just, you know, let it go and, you know, didn't push it.
Yeah, we're going to have to see, obviously, what these guys have in store for stage number 3. They're going to come around to pick themselves up back behind the iRacing pace car. And while they pace around and come down to the pits this time by, we're going to take our first commercial break of the evening. Stick around. Stage 3 coming up from Atlanta. This is the FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup Series at Atlanta on LSRTV.
At Click It RV, we know there's a lot of heritage and history at this location. RV sales and service has been part of this community for decades. We knew there was an incredible opportunity here, but to see where we've come in just a year is incredible. None of it would be possible without the patronage and support from this community. So whether it be a more convenient and accessible service drive, a fully stocked parts department, or this amazing sales facility, what drives this team daily is making sure our customers leave here with the best possible experience.
10 years of speed, 10 years of stories. For the past 10 years, we've been more than just spectators. We've been the heartbeat of local racing, growing alongside the tracks, drivers, and fans who make it all possible. From the dusty turns to the checkered flags, we've shared every triumph and every challenge, making memories that last a lifetime. As we mark this milestone, we're not just looking back, we're revving up for the future. We are expanding, bringing you even more racing, more coverage, and more ways to connect with the adrenaline-fueled world we love. Our commitment to the local racing community is unwavering, and the next chapter promises to be our most exciting yet.
Welcome back to LSRTV's coverage. Almost said FTSR's coverage, but LSRTV's coverage of the FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup Series, race number 2 here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mile and a half down in Hampton, Georgia for the Atlanta 250. Brody Hanna picking up stage number 2 over Nathan Bigart and Charles. This is going to get good right here. They're going to lead us back down to the green flag. Williford on the bumper of Hanna. Gum on the back bumper of the 01. Green flag's back out. The 01 actually gets a pretty good start with the 10 machine right hot on his heels. And the 7 there of Wayne Grossi jumps down to the bottom. He'll pick up that 8th spot as they fly around 1 and 2 while this field gets warmed up and gets back going. Charles, Brody Hanna shoots out back to the race lead.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting, you know, I don't think we've had anyone go back-to-back this year. Excuse me about that, but could Brody Hanna do it? You know, he won, obviously, last week. Could he do it again this week? You know, time will tell, but, you know, it's going to be a tough task to do when you've got this hungry pack of wolves just chomping at your heels behind you, or I guess that'd be more like your ankles. But either way, Williford behind him, Bigart, Bliss, Gum, and look who's there. Jeff Chandler in the 31. He's now in 6th place, so that damage obviously not too much, as he is now in the top 10 once again. So, you know, Doyle's got his car back. He's in the top 10, and he's got a shot to win this thing too.
Yeah, and remember last week, Jeff Chandler was pretty much in contention and almost going to win at Daytona until they all piled up coming into turn 4, shades of the 2012 Drive for COPD 300 at Daytona. You remember they all wrecked coming into the final turn, and James Busher, who was 11th on the scoring pylon when they hit turn 3, got through the wreck and came home to pick up his first NASCAR Xfinity Series win that day. And the 31 of Jeff Chandler, hoping to not be in that position, hopes to be up at the front of this field and having all the carnage behind him by the end of this one and pick up his first win of the season. You see Brian Dublé going down to the bottom of the racetrack, maybe a little bit of damage for him, so he gets set back there towards the back of this field. But I mean, Charles, right now it's not necessarily go time. We're going to have probably one more green flag pit stop before the end of this one. I mean, right now, what do you think the game plan is? Get up to the front, or obviously just ride around?
Yeah, if it's me, I'm just going to ride around. We are past the halfway point. We've now completed 83. We have 80 to go. Working lap 84. You know, I just want to, you know, kind of cruise out there. Don't push anything too hard. You know, if these things had a cruise control, I'd put one on, but they don't have it, unfortunately. But that's what you got to do. You just got to stay calm, cool, collected, and just cruise around. And, you know, if you're up front, you're up front. You know, maybe 20 to go. With it being harder to pass, I might try to start making some moves. But yeah, what they're doing right now, just hanging out there too wide, that's what I'd do until about 20 to go.
Yeah, you see Brody Hanna still able to hold the race lead. Sherwood Williford, Brian Bliss maintain your podium on the top 3 in the outside lane, led by Nathan Bigart with help from the number 10. Whoa, a lot of shuffling going on there in the middle of the pack lane. Allen and Wayne Grossi got sideways for just a minute. They're able to maintain. Now the pack nearly separates to 2, but it's going to become 1 here in just a minute with this closing rate, Charles, here. And we've seen time and time again, ever since this next-gen car was released, the closing rate is super-duper high, and you can close up to the back bumper of the driver in front of you in a hurry here at these super speedways.
Yeah, you can definitely move up in a hurry, and, you know, that's one thing they're banking on, is being able to do such. Is Brody Hanna still out front, but that outside lane's coming to life. So while we gave our strategy what we would do, I don't know if they're going to listen to us, because they're going to try to make some passes here early in stage number 3 in the 3 stages. Obviously, 163 laps. The big thing is 163 is the scheduled distance. We have 3 attempts at a green, white, checkered. I don't recall. I have to do the homework on that on my end, but I do not believe we have used all of those in any race we've done so far. So, you know, could it be a strategy? You know, could be, but I'm not banking on using all of them because we haven't done it so far.
Yeah, I believe last week on Wednesday we went into only one overtime, if I'm correct. I mean, not too sure. Don't have the greatest memory, but I tell you what, when it comes to NASCAR facts, I could tell you that much from pretty much 2001 and forward being my birth year. And boy, Charles, I bet you feel old after hearing that I was born in 2001. I know Wesley sure does, obviously, one of our colleagues at LSRTV. And Wesley, should see you obviously on Thursday night for the Stars and Stripes Racing League. That will be a fun one to call, I believe, and it's been really such a great race here tonight. You know, Charles, besides the couple cautions we've had, some great racing up at the front. Nobody has really dominated this race, I'd say, besides this 23 machine. Brody Hanna, I mean, you've had Nathan Bigart up there the whole time. Kyle Milliken's led a little bit. Ryan Chapman's led a little bit. Still, I don't really think, as we're, you know, over the halfway point, like you mentioned, approaching just 70 laps to go, I don't know if there's really a distinct favorite here for this race besides the 23.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think there's too many favorites. And yes, I feel very old now. Thank you. But to point that 2001, that was the year I got my first job at a racetrack. So, well, you're doing all that. I was going out to the go-kart track, and I was working full-time as a photographer out there, working for the track. So, yeah, I feel a tiny bit old, but, you know, hey, we all get old, so I'll embrace it.
Yeah, definitely going to embrace that for sure, no doubt about it. But hey, man, 2001, obviously a great year for NASCAR. Lots of things happened. Obviously, lost Dale Earnhardt, but without the passing of Dale Earnhardt, we wouldn't have many of the safety inventions that we have nowadays. Obviously, with the implementation of the Hans device, the safer barriers, many great things coming after 2001. And you know, and now that we're in 2024, we've already seen some great racing, whether it be sim racing, whether it be real racing. And remember to always go and support your local short track, because we've talked about that. It's been a really big factor. Charles, I know you're on the scene with a lot of the dirt racing side of things over on Race On, with now you guys expanding. I'm usually a regular at my home track, Wall Stadium Speedway, out in Wall Township, New Jersey. And I got a couple dirt tracks around me. We got Bridgeport, we got New Egypt. That's pretty much it, but I try to go over there when I can, but I haven't been over there in quite some time. So always remember to go and support your local racetracks, especially this year. So should be a great year for racing, no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely agree with everybody that go out, you know. And this is, you know, why we don't do weekend events on LSRTV, because, you know, one, we're actually working events, or we want our guys and gals to go to, you know, local racing and support them on the weekend. So we don't do weekend events. The weekend is for family and fun by racing is fun for us. So go out, support them. And, well, we also thank you for supporting us here as we're watching this and obviously supporting the Full Throttle Sim Racing Mach 1 Performance Cup Series. As, well, they're doing Mach 1 and they are blistering down some laps right now. 30 seconds, 29 for the best, but 30 right now. And we currently have 68 to go. Just, what, 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, we were talking we had 80. Now we're down to 68 and counting.
Just goes to show you how fast these drivers are absolutely ripping here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And ever since the reconfiguration that began at the end of the 2021 season, you see Jeff Chandler just brush the wall for a slight second there going into turn number 3. No harm, no foul. The field checks up behind him, though, is that this track became a lot quicker. And Charles, I know this is the initial scan of the Atlanta Motor Speedway, but we obviously on Sunday saw a lot of wear and tear to this racetrack from what we saw at the beginning. Oh no, Jeff Chandler out of line sideways. They're able to save it there just for a moment. Now they're going to go 3 wide with Colton Gum going through the middle. Clears Jeff Chandler. What a pass by Colton Gum. But like we were talking about, saw a lot of wear and tear on Sunday. Oh no, boy, I can't even finish a dang sentence. Colton Gum nearly out of line. Out of turn number 4, almost created another massive multi-car pileup, but he saved it. Wow. Charles, I'm going to hold my thought, man. That was a heck of a save from the 10 of Colton Gum.
Yeah, I don't know if you just every time you try to mention it, we get get almost caution. So, we'll give you a chance to get here in a second. Maybe they'll cool down a little bit. And these guys really going to town right now. You would think we had about 10 laps to go, but we're coming up with 65 laps to go. Oh, I saw that one too.
Yeah, Jeff Chandler into the wall, going through the trioval again. Second time he's hit the wall in about the last 3 to 4 laps, but he's still hanging on there in 8th, inside the top 10. And now I'm going to say it because hopefully they're done nearly wrecking. So remember, we saw a lot of wear and tear on Sunday. And Charles, I'm sure that eventually when iRacing comes back to scan this racetrack, obviously with the laser scanning technology that they have, this track is going to feel a lot differently in the future on iRacing than what it does right now. And the thing that's so interesting about this racetrack is you can't really race it like a traditional Daytona or Talladega. You have to drive it totally differently because of the 1.5-mile configuration, because of the banking, because of the the narrower, the radius of the corners with how tight they are. I mean, look at these guys. You can barely go 3 wide. And when we've seen 3 wide action here tonight, it's been so treacherous. We've nearly had wrecks, or we have had wrecks.
Definitely have, and almost have, and it's getting a little wild and crazy out there. And while you were talking, I was listening, and I had a wild idea. So I was sitting there watching. We see all of this great racing on iRacing. iRacing also, sponsors real race cars like Kyle Larson in his midget. They have Tyler Hudson, who has a late model, works at iRacing. They sponsor him. iRacing's rapidly growing. They have all these connections. Do you ever think we'll see the day, whether it be short track, asphalt, or dirt, where iRacing actually takes their money and do whatever they got to do and actually puts on a real life event?
I tell you what, that would be crazy. Almost just as crazy as what we just saw out of 31 of Jeff Chandler. Falls all the way back there. He was up and into the wall again going into turn number 3. So that car definitely unsettled. But I agree, that would be absolutely awesome. And obviously one thing that they did do in the virtual world was, remember, for anybody who knows of or has played NR 2003, one of the fictional tracks that was made over there by the guys over at Papyrus, and most of those guys who came over from Papyrus to iRacing, because remember, NR from Papyrus, that was the original sim for NASCAR before iRacing started up in the late 2000s, and they took the Coca-Cola Super Speedway and changed the name to iRacing Super Speedway, which you can drive here. And actually, this week, the Carburetor Cup Series, one of the official leagues on iRacing that is, an official racing series, they are at the iRacing Super Speedway this week. So I would not be surprised, Charles, if somewhere down the line, with all the investments, all the money, the sponsorships that iRacing has been able to do, I think they very well could do it.
I think they could too, and I think it'd be really cool to see because, just like most short track dirt tracks, and I'm sure asphalt tracks are the same way, when, like say World of Outlaws, or when these series or events come to a track, they rent the track. So, yeah, it's very feasible that one day you could see iRacing say, hey, we're going to put on the iRacing Nationals, and we're going to rent such and such track, and we're going to put on a real event, because there are a lot of drivers on iRacing that race in real life. So that would be really cool. iRacing, if you're listening, there you go. I gave you an idea. Now you can go put on the iRacing Nationals, and then have the iRacing Sim Nationals. So then you have the sim version, the real version. I think it'd be cool to see, who could come out on top of one of these events.
Yeah, and it would definitely be cool. You see a lot of jockeying for position back here. A couple of lap cars up and into the way. Richie Coy, Brian Dublé making contact with some of the race leaders up on the top side with Colton Gum, Nathan Bigart, and also that would be, or not Nathan Bigart, rather, that would be 2 Chevrolets behind Colton Gum, Daniel Sims, and another driver as well, but they're able to keep it going. Charles, this race is ticking by really, really quickly. We obviously went live at 8:50, and they started this race around 9:05, 9:07, and now it's 10:13 p.m. Eastern Time. this race has flown by. These guys have less than 60 laps to go, and they still have one more green flag pit stop to make. That's even if they get to the opportunity to have green flag pit stops. See Colton Gum and Kyle Milliken up into the wall. Remember on Wednesday night, we didn't see them make a green flag pit stop. I mean, do we have the possibility of that happening? Will they even be able to get to a green flag window?
Yeah, that's the one thing we didn't get to talk to these drivers. Is, unfortunately, real race season's here. I was in meetings. You were getting off work, and, we always do our best to make sure we're here. We were here. Just didn't have that early time. Unfortunately, we like to get to chat with the driver. So, yeah, we don't know what their fuel mileage is. Obviously, we know they can go as far as they've gone. Right now, we're 32 laps into this stint. So we know they can go that far. Can they make the full distance? I'm with you. We just don't know. I know Doyle's out there, and he's obviously keeping tabs of Jeff, so he might be able to give us some insight there. But, yeah, it's a factor we don't know that could very well play a big factor into this race.
Well, I tell you what, I do have the answer because I was able to catch up with a couple of the Fury Motorsports guys just briefly before the start of tonight's race. Talked to Richie Coy, obviously multiple laps down, heartbreaker of a night for him after coming off of a top 10 run at Daytona last week. Told me the fuel run was looking to be about 55 to 65 laps at most. So these guys all pitted on lap 77, Charles. They are definitely going to have to pit at least one more time because it's a little less than 70 laps all the way to the finish from 77 to lap 163. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see if they can, in fact, make it to green flag pit stops. But we just haven't had that opportunity to see them yet. And what's it going to be like if we do see them?
Yeah, and, so, yeah, you're definitely right. My napkin math is never good, but yours is good. 52 to go, 34 on the stint. There's no way they're going to make that, even at 65. My question is, when are you going to come in? Are you going to come in as late as possible, or are you going to try to divide this up? If you're going to divide this up, we could potentially see some drivers come in here in the next 5 laps. That would put them on a 40-lap stint and about 45, 46 left in the race. That very well could be a strategy, to divide this up for this last stint. That would give you a little bit of headroom if we had some green-white checkers too. So I think we may see some guys come in here around lap 40 to 42.
Yeah, definitely. I would probably agree with you. I would say we're going to see guys probably get on pit road at lap 130, 135. More than likely. But again, we just don't know. We were given the estimate, or at least I was given the estimated fuel run. The strategies are out the window right now. They're just flying through the air differently. We don't know what some of these teams are going to do. Obviously, most of these guys are not hooked up with the majority of their teammates. I mean, Fury is completely separated. Brody Hanna is the only one who is not a Fury car that has had some type of issue. See Ryan Chapman get up into the wall again, going through turn number 2, nearly overcorrects it, but he's able to save it. And Charles, quick story, and because you mentioned napkins, and you mentioned napkin math, and here you go, here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that COTA, Circuit of the Americas, great road course out in the middle of Texas, your home state, was created on a napkin at a dinner table?
I did not know that, and I probably should, because working with Race On, I've actually have media credentials to go out there whenever I want when they're racing. So it's an interesting fact I did not know. It's really cool to know, how these places get started. I'll put that in my book of knowledge, like, knowing where NASCAR was signed, sitting on the top of a hotel. All these little cool things you find out. So I'll steal that one from your book of knowledge.
Yeah, and obviously NASCAR, the great sport we all know and love, created in the late 1940s by Mr. Bill France Sr. at the Streamline Hotel down in Daytona Beach, Florida. Had the opportunity to go down there. Haven't seen the actual hotel. I had some family that lived down there for a brief period of time, so I've gotten to see some things. Got to go on to the original actual north turn right there. Beautiful restaurant. Wasn't able to go there because they were closed at the time, but got to go down to the beach right at where the north turn was, back on the beaches of Daytona, down by Ponce Inlet. If you keep going down all the way, you'll hit the lighthouse down at Ponce Inlet. So if you're looking for a place to go down in Daytona Beach, if you're down there, definitely hit up the north turn and obviously the lighthouse down at Ponce Inlet. But back to the racing action, obviously so many stories that, you know, these guys are putting on, Charles. We just don't know when they're going to wreck, because we've seen a lot of close calls while I've been talking and having some great story time and great knowledge from the book of Charles and the book of Jason given to one another. So seeing a lot of racing up here at the front, Charles. And it's funny because we talk about these guys still having to make at least one more pit stop. They're racing like they're not pitting. So I don't know if this inside lane is not really going to contend hard against this outside lane, if they're all going to pit together or what. So it's going to be interesting to see, as you see the 06 Daniel Simmons getting a great shove there into the middle of the corner from that 43 machine, or actually I believe that might be, if I could read the 46.
Yeah, the 46 up there.
Yeah, 46 machine, got a different color per se. There, the 48 machine there. That's one of the cars, I believe, who is actually a few laps down. It is. That's Jamie Knobb, last week's Daytona winner, helping out one of his buddies, Daniel Sims. That is his teammate. So two teammates hooked up together. And look at Kyle Milliken jumps out to the outside now, entering turn number 2. He wants a piece of the race lead.
Yeah, and we're watching all this battles. We're waiting for the shoe to drop or something to happen. They're just kind of biding their time right now as we have 43 laps to go. I want to bring up a valid point. We always keep an eye on chat going on with our fans out there, and Joseph G out there made the comment, FYI, this track isn't real racing. And I first read that, I thought, okay, he's letting people know it's a sim race. That is a valid point too. And then he said, hashtag old Atlanta isn't better. I personally don't have a preference, but that is a hot debate for even these drivers on it right now. Some love this new format, or this new track layout. Some absolutely hate it. They like the old one better. That is a very hot topic, for drivers and fans. Some really like it, some don't.
Well, I tell you what, as somebody who ran a lot of races this past week, I could say that I have a love-hate relationship here. I like it, but I don't. So it's kind of hard to determine. I really like the old Atlanta, but obviously the racing was getting kind of stale there. So I can understand why the folks at SMI and Marcus Smith decided from Speedway Motorsports to make this track into a super speedway. Very innovative. Definitely has created some controversy, has created some great talks. We just saw one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history on Sunday. But when it comes to the sim, you got to drive this track totally different than what they can do, obviously, in the real world. I mean, there's only so much you can really simulate with these cars, with these tracks, these drivers, the feeling, the handling, and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. I like it, but I don't when it comes to being a driver. But as a broadcaster, I love the hell out of it. It's a fun track to call a race at for sure. And like we're starting to see a great race up here at the front. Kyle Milliken getting a great push from Colton Gum, kind of stacks up the outside lane just a little bit. Enables Daniel Simmons to make a run back out to the bottom now going into 2.
Yeah, they definitely do. And they don't see Simmons can hold them off. Brody Hanna still in the top 4, so don't count him out. He obviously won the stage number 2, so he's got the thing. And I'm not going to say he's my guy, he's going to win, but he's got this, the talent to do it. But I want to see, can he go back-to-back? I want to see if anybody can go back-to-back this season. We haven't seen it yet. And we talked about it earlier in the broadcast. That just shows a testament of how good everybody is in this league, that nobody is able to really dominate it.
Well, I tell you what, Richie Coy dominated a lot last season. The same can be said for Brody Hanna and obviously Cody McKinney in the Truck Series side of things. And the Cup Series can be a little bit differently, but I can assure you that there is some dominant drivers here in this field, but it is a stacked field. We just saw one heck of a move by Ryan Chapman to put Colton Gum 3 wide, set them back there with Nathan Bigart. And Ryan Chapman, who's been in the wall multiple times tonight, Charles, he is moving up into the top 5. He's going to go all the way to 3rd there behind Jamie Knopp, who, remember, is a lap down, just out here trying to help his teammate of Daniel Simmons make sure he can pick up the victory. Those guys worked well together last week at Daytona. They're hooked up again right now late in the race. I mean, Charles, if you're Jamie Knopp, I mean, you don't want to be a guy who causes a wreck being a lap down, but at the same token, you're trying to help your teammate out there.
Yeah, it's one of those deals, you know, you're a lap down, or in his case, I believe, yes, one lap down, like you mentioned. You know, you have to still race, and that's what he's doing. He's helping his teammate. He's out there racing. You know, just because you're down doesn't mean you're out. You don't just roll over and say, well, you know, woe is me, I'm out of this. No, you go out there, you race. You're doing exactly what Knopf is doing. You help where you can. You help your teammates if you can. You know, you put yourself in a position to get a lap back if the caution were to come out. So, you know, props to him. He's doing exactly what he needs to do now late in this race.
Yeah, doing a great job. Those two guys, obviously, from LA Motorsports, doing what they can to control this field. One being a lap down, one being the race leader, and that's Daniel Simmons. But he's got a hard-charging Kyle Milliken, who, like I mentioned earlier, Charles, was so strong last year here in the Cup race. Ryan Chapman picked up the win that day. Massive wreck coming to the end of that race right before they took the white flag, and Kyle Milliken was not able to get it done. Chapman, like I mentioned, was your race winner. And really, Charles, it's a lot of the same contenders I saw last year over at Nerd TV from the broadcast last year here. And we're seeing a lot of the same players up here towards the front. Still really no dominant factor. You see Ryan Chapman up and into the wall yet again. Just so many different comers and goers up here at the front of this field.
Yeah, if I didn't know better, Jason, I would think we were at Darlington. There's a lot of drivers are getting their Darlington stripes, or in this case, their Atlanta stripes here. And, you know, just to point out, I talked to him earlier. I figured he'd be racing, but I'll get it right. McLeacon is not here. I thought he would be here. He was in Discord earlier, and we're at a wreck now.
Oh no! Big wreck back straightaway. Colton Gump, Chad Lang, Brody Hanna involved in this one at a turn number 2. So we're not going to see those green flag pit stops we hope to see. And Brody Hanna looks like, Charles, his night very well could be over. The right front completely locked up, not rolling, not turning. And here's what happened coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, we know the 4 of Chad Lang was involved. We know Brody Hanna was involved. Well, let's see exactly what happened and where it all kind of took place at. I don't think the 4, there you go, it's up with Brody Hanna first. The 4 seems to get the worst of it, though, in that number 4 Pepsi machine. And, well, no, he actually managed to woe it up just a little bit. As we'll go back and we'll take a look at it from Brody Hanna's point of view. It's, yeah, it all starts right here, and I think there was just a little bit of contact.
Yeah, you're going to see them coming out of turn 2 right here. Brody Hanna gets put 3 wide with Colton Gum here, who's going to go through the middle, and Hanna just gets up into the wall, kind of gets that wall glue, as my colleague at Nerd TV and also friend of LSRTV's Jeremy Stanley would say. Wall glue. 23 has that wall glue, comes down, tries to get off of it, and unfortunately just collects the 10, collects the 4 machine. And Charles, like I had mentioned, I think that 23 very well is going to be done for the night.
Yeah, he definitely probably is, and that's a double negative there. But anyway, yeah, pit stops underway. You know, no surprise there. We knew it was coming. These guys couldn't make it all the way. This just gives them an opportunity to come down without, you know, possibly making a mistake under green flag.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to have to see how this race is going to finish. Daniel Simmons leads right now. We're going to take our final commercial break of the evening. We'll bring you to the flag. This is the FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup Series on LSRTV from Atlanta. We'll be right back after this.
10 years of speed. 10 years of stories. For the past 10 years, we've been more than just spectators. We've been the heartbeat of local racing, growing alongside the tracks, drivers, and fans who make it all possible. From the dusty turns to the checkered flags, we've shared every triumph and every challenge, making memories that last a lifetime. As we mark this milestone, we're not just looking back, we're revving up for the future. We are expanding, bringing you even more racing, more coverage, and more ways to connect with the adrenaline-fueled world we love. Our commitment to the local racing community is unwavering, and the next chapter promises to be our most exciting yet.
Welcome back to LSRTV's coverage of the Mach 1 Performance Cup Series of FTSR. Getting ready for the restart here. Green flag is back out. Daniel Simmons, Kyle Milliken lead them back down to the line this time. Lap 136 goes up on the board. And Charles, less than 30 laps to go. The gloves are off, man. We're getting ready to see who's going to win this race.
Yeah, this is, when you talk about the gloves off, this is like round 13, gloves are off. It's a knockdown, drag-out battle at this point, and it's all bets are off. You've got friends out there, but you've got competitors first and foremost. That's what they are. As Simmons wants to win this thing, he's got Williford behind him, Big Art behind him, T.J. Bartell, Milliken's back there, and Bliss going to get by him as we're too wide, about 5th spot back. So, again, like you said, gloves are off and the race is on.
Gloves are off for sure, and I tell you what, somebody who did not want to see that caution was Daniel Simmons because he had the help of his teammate Jamie Knopp, who was a lap down. Now he is all the way back down there, not even a factor at the moment, being way back there 2 laps down. So now he's back at the back of the field. Not Jamie Knopp, but Daniel Simmons. Going to have to try to see what he can work with. He has Sherwood Williford right on his back bumper. Last week's runner-up at Daytona, trying to finish 1 spot better. They come down the back straightaway. Kyle Milliken, though, has something to say. He'll try to work to the top lane. He's got help from Wayne Grossi as they come to lap 139 this time.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. 25 laps to go right there at the line. 25 to go. Should be a very, very interesting last 25 laps. And again, we mentioned it all race long. It was kind of just a, get to this point kind of race. And now this is where, you don't have those friends out on the track. Yes, when you get done, you may share a root beer with them or, a nice cold Coke or whatever. But right now, you're out to win, and you're going to win at all costs. As they're starting to beat and bang about 8th, 9th, and 10th. They're getting really close, but they've sorted it out. We're going to go 2 wide all the way through this pack, except your leader, Simmons, who's nice and comfortable out there leading this pack.
Remember last year, like mentioned before, one major wreck at the end of this race took out many of the competitors and left only a handful of drivers left, and Ryan Chapman took home the victory that day, and it all started up at the front of the field, and right now it is looking really racy up here. Kyle Milliken trying to lead Wayne Grossi, Ryan Chapman, and the rest of those guys up at the top lane back to the front of this field while they battle with the inside lane with Daniel Simmons led by right behind. Try to get a push from Wayne Grossi down the back straightaway, closes up right to the rear bumper. Going to give him a big shot going into turn number 3, sends him up the track just a little bit, but Sherwood Williford responded back with a nice push to Daniel Simmons entering turn number 3. They get a little wide coming off turn number 4. Milliken leads that time by at the line by about a car length over the inside lane. Back to turn number 1. Will he jump down if he can, or will he stay with Wayne Grossi as they work off 2?
You know, I was just about to ask him myself, is he going to dip down to the inside lane? I think the 1 and 2 should go down now. Second place goes down. Oh, but he leaves him up there, you know, almost to dry. But he's got people behind him, so he's not out to dry on the top side. But now your new leader is the 7 of Grossi. So good job for him. You mentioned earlier he's always somebody to be a force to be reckoned with, and he's proving it right now.
And that could be the move that gets him the victory. Approaching 18 laps to go, made the move. Him and Kyle Milliken got clear of Daniel Simmons. Milliken thought about going low, elected to stay up high, and Grossi took advantage, said, I'm going to jump down to the bottom. Surely enough, he does. Now it's Milliken. Taylor having him in front with the 27 of Ryan Chapman right on his bumper. We know how aggressive Ryan Chapman can be with the pushes. We saw a lot of super speedways last year where Ryan Chapman was consistently pushing as hard as he could cause an incident, could get him the victory. We're going to find out here. 17 laps to go coming up this time by. Clicking off 30-second lap times, Charles. This race is flying by, and it's coming to an end here in a hurry.
Yeah, you know, it makes me wonder if he chose not to go down there in that 42 machine, you know, because he didn't want to be put at the point this early on the race with still 20-ish laps to go at the time, because somebody could do what he just did to him. But the downside of that is I don't know if that lane has the momentum it needs right now without the 7 with them. So this could get really interesting. That could have been a costly mistake for him not to come down there, or it could be a winning strategy if he's able to get that outside lane ahead and get ahead of the 7. Once again, time will tell, but that outside lane just not having the momentum it did with the 7 up there with him.
Outside lane kind of broken up just a little bit, not formed up as well and organized as good as that inside lane. You see them get out all the way about 4 or 5 car lengths in front of the 42 of Milliken. This time by at the line, 15 laps to go. Brody Hanna stays to the inside on the apron while they all pass him. 15 laps to go. Wayne Grossi leading right now, the 06 Daniel Simmons in the catbird seat. He's got last week's runner-up Sherwood Williford right behind him. Nathan Bigart trying to see what he can do. We've seen him pull some aggressive moves tonight. And then TJ Bartell, talked about him. He's always up there usually. Decent super speedway driver, finds himself in 5th. And if he gets clear, Charles, he might try to go to the outside.
Yeah, he very well might. We'll see 14 laps to go this time by. As there you see it go on to the ticker. You know, if you're on this track, Jason, you're driving with these, we know people are setting themselves up for move. When is your go time? When is the point to where you have to start making a move? And if you don't, you're not going to have time to do it. When's that for you?
I mean, when it comes down to these races, it's really, Charles, it's all about where you're positioned at. If you're that 98 machine and you want to try to go up to the front, sitting there in line is not going to get you up there. You're going to probably want to jump up to the top side with about 5 or 6 laps to go, I'd say. Try to get that push from Kyle Milliken, but we're going to see if he does that. He's still riding around the inside lane. Now Brian Bliss, he might be clear here of this 42 machine, or try to see if you can key up on the radio with some of these drivers. Say, hey man, let's try to go. Maybe get somebody, if they can, to talk to, conversate with other drivers that are nearby with you. Say, hey man, we're willing to work with you, kind of like a spotter. So we're going to see here and find out. 12 laps to go. Inside lane is just getting better and better, and that outside lane is fading away more and more.
Yeah, it definitely is fading very quickly. Not what the people on the outside wanted to see. What they might have as a saving grace, though, is if you're wanting to get by the 7 of Wayne Grossi, if you're Simmons, Williford, Bigart, Bartell, these guys may try to pull out to the outside lane and try to make something happen. I think the 7's doing a little blocking. He said, no, if y'all are going to go up, I'm going to go up. So, you know, this could get real interesting. If they try to make a move, is he going to go with them and try to cut that move off?
Lane Allen jumps up to the top side with Kyle Milliken. He's going to lead that top lane around with Milliken behind him. Ryan Chapman alongside. He's going to brush the wall coming off turn number 4. This time by at the line. 10 laps to go. Next time by around. And now this time by is 10 laps to go. Kyle Milliken trying to see what he can do to push the 14 of Lane Allen. One of the winners from Talladega last year, trying to get up towards the front of the field. Started in the front, trying to make his way back up towards it. That being the 14 machine. He gets a little wide entering turn number 3. I just don't see this outside lane making any headway here, Charles, but they're starting to get formed up a little bit.
Yeah, I think they needed to be formed up right now at the latest. If they're going to try to make a move, they're just not there at the moment. Oh, and we got somebody going around.
Oh, we got one around. That's Daniel Simmons going around. They're all able to save it down the back straightaway, but the question's going to be by turn 3, will they all check up in time? Will they wreck? Everybody looks to be okay. We see some 3, almost 4 wide action, but Daniel Simmons all the way to the back, controlling a majority of this race, falls out of contention. Gonna need a big one to happen in front of him if he wants to make it up to the front. Kyle Milliken, meanwhile, trying to see what he can do on the outside by himself. Ryan Chapman closing that gap, trying to give him the push that he needs. Colby Mice in the 9 machine, where did he come from? Up inside the top 10, trying to make his way up to the front, this time by 7 laps to go, coming to the line.
Yeah, Mice was a little further back, and he is now in contention for this. Again, I'm not counting anybody out, and the caution is out.
Caution is out on the racetrack. Daniel Simmons, Michael Blackner go around in the tri-oval. And Charles, this is going to set us up for a late race restart. Lead us through what happened here.
Yeah, we're about to find out. Unfortunately, one of my favorite paint jobs out there, that Red Bull machine of Blackner in the 22 gets tangled up, and I have a feeling there might have been a little bumper hook involved in this. We're about to find out, or if it was just a shot there.
Oh.
So, no, right there. Oh, just gets
gosh.
loose. And what a lick.
I don't think I've ever seen a car correct quite like that here in Atlanta, or even just a super speedway. I mean, it was so quick. I mean, I don't even think that Michael Blackner thought the 06 was going to overcorrect like that, because, Charles, we've seen time and time again. We just saw it off turn 2 with the 06. Got loose, was able to save it, but going through the tri-oval, he just loses it.
Yeah, and he just lost it, and I figured somebody hooked him, but no. Well, he did not get hooked. He just got pile drived into the wall, and you'll see him get loose right there, and just bam, right into him. And, there was nothing Blackner could do but just hang on for that ride.
Hard impact for the number 22 and also the 06 of Daniel Simmons, a night of what could have been to try to make LA Racing, or LA Motorsports rather, go back-to-back. Season opener at Daytona, won just a week ago by Jamie Knopf, who currently sits in 19th, 2 laps down. And then obviously Daniel Simmons, heartbreaker of a night, that's going to end it for him. But Charles, we're going to have a restart probably here with 4 to 3 laps, or not 4 laps to go, but 3 to 2 laps to go. I mean, pick your poison right now. It's just that time of the night where now it's kind of, all right, bet, who's going to win this race? I think, in my opinion, I like the 01 of Nathan Bigart. I really do. The guy showed strength last week at Daytona. He's a newcomer to the series. I think he's got what it takes. It's just going to be about if he can get in front of this number 7 of Wayne Grossi right here. He's clearly going to be able to push him out there, but if he has the opportunity, he's going to have to try to go to the outside, or at least pull some evasive maneuver and try to fake the 7 machine to pick up that top spot. But I'm going with the 01 of Nathan Bigart.
I think I got to go with Wayne Grossi here, and not because he's in the lead, but because he's running one of my favorite paint schemes back from the old World of Outlaws days when I first started watching racing, and that's the yellow Pennzoil. I didn't know the driver's name, didn't know anything. I just knew he was the yellow number 22 Pennzoil. Obviously, he's the 7. I won't fault him for that, but I'm going with him just because of that reason, and the fact that he's been good all season so far. Knowing from what I've heard from you, he's been good in seasons past, so I think he's got a good shot here.
We're about to find out here. 3 laps to go coming up. And Charles also leads me to the point we talked about, how we haven't used up any of those or at least all of those overtime finishes. I believe we had one in the trucks on Wednesday night. Do you think these guys make it through to the checkered flag without having a yellow?
I think we're going to do it just because of the skill level here. I think these guys can do, essentially almost a green-white checkered, but we are still in regulation time. And yes, I think we'll go no overtimes here tonight, and we'll see a good battle to the end, but no overtimes.
Well, we're about to find out and see, giving you your top 10 rundown. Grossi, Williford, Bigart, Allen, Milliken. That's your top 5. Chapman, Bliss, Colby Mice, TJ Bartell, Colton, and Gum. We are about to find out and see who's going to take home the Atlanta 250 tonight and who takes home a 4-pack of Victory Fuel, courtesy of Richie Coy. Had to buy his buddy one back on Wednesday night, but I heard Brody Hanna decided to not take that and gave it to the second place driver, which was Richie Coy. But here we go. 3 laps to go. Green flag is back out. Grossi leads him back down, and the 0-1 of Bigart gets a great restart. We're going to see what he's going to do here down in the 1.
Yeah, we got your pick and my pick 1 and 2 right now. Maybe we'll get to talk to both of them here on the podium, as we'll see Milliken right behind him. Also, Bliss back here in that number 3 LSRTV machine. He is trying to make something happen as well. As again, we know it's coming up to 2 to go, and it is going to be a battle all the way to the end for these guys.
Approaching 2 laps to go, Kyle Milliken jumps up to the top lane. He's going to have help from Sherwood Williford back to the line. Grossi out front. Bigart running in second. Bliss in third, heading back to 1 this time.
This could get interesting. Again, we already predicted, I predicted no overtime attempts. I think they're going to make it, but when is somebody going to make a move? They're single file in the top 5 right now. Nobody pulling out of line, but you got 1 lap to go. I think we're going to see maybe down the backstretch going into 3 or 4. I think second place, Nathan Bigart, I think he's going to jump out of line and try to make the pass for the win.
White flag is out. 1 lap to go at Atlanta. It comes down to this: 163 laps, 250 miles. It's about to be settled. Grossi, Bigart, Bliss, they're leading down the back straightaway. Will anybody pull out of line? Heading into 3 for the final time. Bigart hot on the 7's heels, coming into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. We saw a photo finish on Wednesday. Will we see one again? Coming to the line, checkered flag. Nobody has enough for Wayne Grossi. He wins the Atlanta 250 in the Mach 1 Performance Cup Series. Nathan Bigart comes home, the bridesmaid, in second. And third place on the podium, Brian Bliss. What a finish. What a drive by a lot of these guys, Charles. Very surprised we didn't see any wrecks. I mean, great racing throughout the entire night. Wayne Grossi, that move that he made down the back straightaway into turn 3 to leave his buddy up at the top of the racetrack and go to the bottom, that was the winning race move that enabled him to take the race lead.
Yeah, it really was, and we wondered if it was going to be. And again, he knew what he needed to do. Hopefully they're still buddies after this race, but, he did it. He went down there and he said, I'm going to come down. I think maybe if the leader had come down with him, this could have been a different story, but he didn't. And, he handed the keys to the Victory Lane celebration gate to the number 7, Wayne Grossi. And not even going to do, he did a victory lap, but no celebration donuts for the 7. He's going to take it straight to Victory Lane.
I think that's the first time I've ever seen a driver probably not elect to do a burnout after he had just won. And Wayne Grossi hasn't won a race in quite some time. He is just going to pull it into his box, probably celebrate like Cole Trickle did at the end of Days of Thunder winning the Daytona 500. But that's the conclusion of tonight's race. Going to give you your rundown here all the way down this 32-car lineup, and then we'll grab the top 3 for post-race interviews. And here's your unofficial race results presented by LiveSimRacingTV.com. Wayne Grossi picks up the win tonight here in race number 2. Nathan Bigart, not necessarily a bridesmaid again, but he was definitely a bridesmaid tonight. Brian Bliss comes home 3rd for the LSRTV machine. TJ Bartell, Chad Lang started in the back of this field, comes home 5th. Last year's winner here at Atlanta, Ryan Chapman, comes home 6th. Kyle Milliken, solid top 10. Sherwood Williford continues his top 10 streak. Colton Gum, Colby Mice, great run for him in the number 9 machine. He's going to round out your top 10.
And we'll go down to 11th through 20th. Going to be Dave Nestor. Had a good run, finished 11th place. Ryan Hedrick, Jose Acosta in 13th. Jeff Chandler bouncing back after a few scrapes with the wall to get a 14th place on the lead lap, followed by Lane Allen, Chris Beck, Alan Kroll, Jamie Knopf, Brian Double, and Justin Diltz are going to be your top 20, Jason.
And then rounding out the rest of your 32-car lineup, Daniel Simmons, a night of what could have been 7 laps down for the 06 machine. Then you look at all the way back there and look at Fury Motorsports grouped up 7, 15, 20 laps down. Ben Tracy, Joseph Grijalva, 50 laps down. Another night that he's going to want to forget here. 2 weeks in a row, 2 bad races. You go all the way down. There's Anthony Cozy in the 30th position. Then rounding out the field in 31st and 32nd, James Torrey was up at the front. Heartbreaker for him. Alan Duranco there rounds out your 32-car rundown there. Grossi picks up the race victory. There's your race summary presented by Virginia811.com, reminding you to dig with care. 5 cautions, 15 caution laps, 23 lead changes, but it was not the 23 of Brody Hanna who won tonight. That went to the 7 of Wayne Grossi. We're going to step away for a quick moment, grab our podium finishers, talk to them, and wrap up here tonight in Atlanta. This is LSRTV's coverage of the Mach 1 Performance Cup Series for FTSR. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to LSR TV's coverage here of the FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup Series. Just wrapped up the Atlanta 250, won by Mr. Wayne Grossi, but we're going to step down to third place, Brian Bliss. Brian, you were really strong tonight, man. It was kind of an eventful race. How did your night go?
Man, I'm sweating after that one. The thing got tight after 30 laps. Couldn't turn.
Yeah, definitely couldn't turn for sure. And obviously, we talked about during the broadcast, obviously, me and Charles, about some drivers really don't like this style of Atlanta. Some like the old one. But what is your stance on this Atlanta Motor Speedway now that this is the third year we're starting to have it here in the sim? What's your take on the new Atlanta Motor Speedway that's not really so new anymore?
Tonight, the car was okay. The Xfinity car and the truck are pretty terrible.
Well, there you go. Pretty simple, straight for Mr. Brian Bliss. Brian, we're going to let you step away here and celebrate that third place victory. Any shout outs you want to give before we let you go?
Shout out to Casey McMullen if he's watching.
There you go. Brian Bliss, a man of simple words for sure. That's third place Brian Bliss, driver the number 3 LSRTV machine. Now we step to second place, Nate Bigard. Nate, you were in contention last week at Daytona. You were right there at the end, but unfortunately come home a bridesmaid tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that was still in my mind, getting wrecked on the last lap, you know, last week with a chance to win it. And being there at the end tonight, I was just okay. Just following Wayne, pushing him to the end, getting to that finish line, getting some good points. You know, I got good stage points, a first and a second, and then a second finish. Just coming in here, getting to know the group, don't want to ruffle any feathers, you know, and just a great night overall, so I'm happy with it.
And obviously, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. You say you're getting used to the group. You're obviously a newcomer over here to the FTSR side of things. What is your take here? 2 races under your belt in the Cup Series, man. How is it out there racing with these guys?
Yeah, I mean, so far just plate racing, you know, but drafting, but definitely a great group. A lot of green flag racing. You don't see that in a lot of other leagues, you know. Even though it's league racing, it's a lot like officials and just people are crazy. So another great race tonight. I'm getting to know a few of them, you know, doing great partnerships with pushing or getting pushed, and just a lot of talent in this league, and can see that I'm gonna enjoy it, and I already am. So happy to be involved, happy to be invited, and looking forward to the future for sure.
Well, we'll let you step away and celebrate that second place victory. Hopefully you come home one spot better next week at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in Cincinnati. Any quick shout-outs you want to give before we let you go?
Yeah, just give a shout out to FTSR, you know, like I said, inviting me in and allowing me to race with these guys. Great racing. LSRTV, thanks for doing the broadcast. Shout out to Fuego Paints and Joe Grojava. Yeah, he put me up with this paint for free tonight, and he brought me into the league, so shout out to him. All the fans watching, and every time I do a broadcast, I give a shout out to my #1 fan, Mom. Love you.
There you go. Always got to thank Mom. That's Nate Bigart coming home second here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now we step over to the Victory Fuel Victory Lane, reminding you to drink the best flavored electrolyte water on the planet. You could use KOI19 at checkout to save 10% off at drinkvictory.com. And Wayne Gross, you're going to have yourself a 4-pack of Victory Fuel, I'm sure, coming your way from Mr. Richie Coy, man. You were really strong there in the entire race, up at the front a majority of the night. Just take us through how it was tonight.
Well, it was kind of treacherous, actually. And the second restart there, I got caught behind somebody, and I went all the way back to 20th or something like that. And so I had a lot to make up there after that. So I'm very happy to get back up to the front, because I knew I had a rocket under me. I just had to get up there.
Yeah, and obviously, man, you head into Las Vegas next week. We know how good you can be on those mile and a halves. We've seen you be super strong on the super speedways, like we just saw here tonight. Even last week at Daytona, you coming off a top 5, so that's 2 top 5s in a row. You got to feel good, man. How do you feel like your momentum is going to be heading into Vegas?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been in this league a long time, and it's great to get the monkey off my back. I needed a win desperately, and I'm just so happy to get a win here. I just can't tell you.
Yeah, well, obviously, Wayne Grossi coming home the winner, man. Any quick shout-outs you want to give before you can go celebrate that victory?
Well, Nate, thank you. He pushed me to the victory. I appreciate that. He could have done a lot of other things, so appreciate what he did there. Appreciate TJ Bartel, my teammate. He helps me with the setups every week, and we work well together, so I was glad to see him take 4th.
And there you go. There you have it from your race winner, Mr. Wayne Grossi in the number 7 Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet. Great race tonight, Charles. We saw a lot of drivers up at the front, comers and goers. Saw a few wrecks, man. Great racing tonight. Now we head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway next week. Going to be a totally different race from these first 2 that we've seen so far.
Yeah, it definitely we are looking forward to seeing what happens in the next one. Again, they never disappoint. They always put on a good show, and they show just why they're so good. You know, they're gonna have to rename this league, you know, just that dadgum good racing league, because you know that's what they are. You know, they go full throttle and they put on a show for all the fans.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt about it. Obviously, and congratulations to Wayne Grossi on a tremendous victory. Told us just a moment ago, getting the monkey off of his back. And now that's going to lead us to the conclusion of tonight's broadcast. You're going to catch us on Wednesday for the Las Vegas 200 for the FTSR Sim Racing Points Truck Series. That should be a fun one, little bit of drafting involved. But until then, we're going to see you next time. For Jeff Stabnow, Rocket Racing Media, Charles Wooten being my buddy. Always love working with you. Thankful to FTSR for allowing us to bring the coverage on LSRTV. I'm Jason Rockefeller. Sign out from Atlanta. Good night. Have a good week. And we'll see you on Wednesday night for some trucking in Sin City.